Committee, where ousted Health and Human Services official Rick Bright testified yesterday. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Let me ask you about this particular bill here for a moment. Is this bill more about setting the bar for future negotiations, or is there any chance in your mind that as it stands right now, this bill could actually make its way to the White House, given the pushback you're seeing from the president and Republicans?
Well, I think that it will certainly pass the House, and it is a marker and a very necessary one. The states across the country are hemorrhaging revenues, and the American people need help. This is one of the greatest challenges, public health challenges, that our country has ever faced. And even the chairman of the Federal Reserve said, think big, go big, because the country needs it. So it's a very well thought out bill. It's a necessary bill. And I think the administration will change their mind. I don't know how the president of the United States can go up against what the American people really need.
Let me ask you about some of the comments coming out of your own party. Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger saying that she'll be voting against the bill, saying it is being used as a, quote, opportunity to make political statements. What is your reaction to her statement? Is there a political message that Democrats are trying to send with this particular bill?
Well, every member holds the card in their own vote, and they express their judgment. I know where I am. I know where the majority of the caucus is. I really can't go home and face my constituents and come up with something that would really pass muster with them, where I would turn down something that is so critically needed. Again, this is one of the greatest challenges our country has faced, and we have to meet that challenge. Every generation of Americans have had challenges, and we have met them. And that's what this is about. This isn't about politics. We have lost over 80,000 souls in our country. Can anything be more serious than this?
I want to ask you about the House, and you talked about the strength of the caucus behind this bill, but the House is also set to vote on a resolution that would allow proxy voting during the pandemic. Both the vote on the relief bill as well as this proxy vote depend on how many Democrats actually make it to Capitol Hill today. Can you give us a sense as to whether or not you think that will pass appropriately with both the relief bill and the proxy voting resolution?
Well, first, the Speaker has always wanted this to be bipartisan. I hope it will be. If it's not, the Congress has to work. And so this is a changing of the rules of the entire House. So it's a big step. But it's a step that needs to be taken so that we can function. The Congress cannot be absent. The country needs help. And so we need to change the rules in order to do the work of the United States House of Representatives.
Let's turn to yesterday's hearing with Rick Bright for a moment. I want to play you a moment from your questioning about the early preparations to the emerging threat of the coronavirus. Take a listen.
Was there a failure to respond with the needed urgency when you correctly pushed to ramp up production of masks, respirators, syringes, swabs?
Congresswoman, we've known for quite some time that our stockpile is insufficient, and having those critical personal protective equipment, I began pushing urgently in January, along with some industry colleagues as well. And those urges, those alarms were not responded to with action.
He also said that that led to lives being endangered and lost. What was your overall reaction to his testimony, and where should things go from here?
Well, Dr. Bright offered compelling testimony. He's a respected scientist. He was the right person with the right judgment at the right time. And it's painful to think about what the administration did not do early on when he was ringing every bell. Lives have been lost because of that. So he was courageous to come forward. His story was a story of truth to the American people. He's the first person to come forward from inside the administration to tell this sad story of time lost, of dithering, of ineptness, of incompetence. And it isn't anything to celebrate, but it's the truth.
How do you plan for your subcommittee to address the new questions and concerns his testimony raised?
Well, he did give us a path forward. He said that the window was closing, but we still have time. And he outlined that and what we need to prepare for. So my subcommittee, the health subcommittee, needs to push hard on the things, I believe, that Dr. Bright instructed, was so highly instructive about, and move. The American people deserve that help, our healthcare workers, our doctors, our nurses. To think that our national stockpile, that when the door was opened, that the cupboard was bare, is nothing short of shameful.
I have to ask you really quickly about another major story happening in the Senate. Senator Richard Burr, I'm sure as you're aware, stepping aside as chair of the Intel Committee amid an FBI investigation into possible insider trading. Senator Dianne Feinstein also being questioned by the FBI about her own stock sales, and Senator Kelly Loeffler of Georgia also confirming she's provided information to the FBI about stock sales she said were made by advisors without her husband's knowledge. I know that Senator John Cornyn has said that maybe the bottom line is if you're going to be in the Senate, you can't own any stocks. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that. What's your take on the implications for members of both houses in this situation?
Well, some years ago, under the leadership of Louise Slaughter, who's now in heaven, we passed legislation that set up all of the ethics surrounding this very issue. And so I think that legislation, which is now the law of the land, that members follow it. So I think that that's the best path forward. I think it's sad. I think it's sad what has happened to Senator Burr and to the others. But we had very, very solid legislation, as I said, that became law. All you have to do is follow that.
Let me get your final thoughts a little bit. You're in the Capitol building there behind you. We've gotten word from our colleague who is also there that some members of the Republican, caucus who are on the floor of the House, they're not wearing face masks. They're not maintaining social distance. As somebody who goes into that building every day, are you at all concerned for your safety and your health and the way you're conducting your business there?
Well, of course I am, because we've been told by the doctors, the scientists in our country, starting with Dr. Fauci, what we need to do. When we protect ourselves, we're protecting. If I'm using the protective, the mask, the gloves, when I'm around people, it's not only to my benefit, but it's to the benefit of others. So to fly in the face of that really sets a very, very poor example to the American people. It's do what I say, but I'm not going to do it myself. As a mother, I don't think that works very well at all.
I was going to say, we also have seen the president walking around without a mask as he meets and greets a lot of the people that he's coming in contact with. Congresswoman Eshoo, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.